want it.
Dear Jason, welcome to London. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. There's also bag. Oh shit, these are pretty good. The new jeans and scarf. Thank you, Diesel crew. That's such a nice welcome. Welcome to London. Tomorrow is my Diesel shoot and the day is actually pretty much over. The sun was setting as I was driving here and there's one thing left to do, which is to go to sleep. But if you know anything about this channel, if we do something, we do it good, we do it well. So, let's do it. You see that? Fucking professional. I'm probably one of the best in the world at sleeping, and you can learn how to do the same. I will teach you to reach my levels of sleeposity, but first, I have a confession to make. For the longest time, I would have trouble falling asleep, twisting and turning, counting sheep, hours in bed wasted, contemplating life and, desperately trying to get those sweet dreams. I couldn't get it. But now I have found the solution and you can have it too. It's the Jason Paul Bedtime Stories audio booklet and it will only cost you a phenomenal, not $500, not $400, but $800 a month. No, but seriously. Really though, for the biggest part of my life, I have had incredible problems falling asleep. Sleeping itself wasn't that difficult, staying asleep, but getting there, I struggled with forever. And usually I would just stay up till 3-4 a.m. playing video games, reading, doing whatever really, till I was literally too exhausted to stay up and I would just pass out. And it wasn't much of a big deal because the next day, whatever, I would be sleepy in school, passing out in class, or I would just sleep in on the weekends and I would catch up on my sleep and then go training afterwards. But however, it became much more of a big deal of a problem when I started working as a professional athlete doing parkour. Usually it's impossible to tell from the final film, but most of these shoots have quite the intense schedule. A lot of times I'll be flown halfway across the world and arrive super jet lagged just to have to get up the next morning at 6 a.m, be ready to perform for those glorious sunrise shots. And I love it, it's always worth it, but it needs me to be on point with my sleep schedule because I can totally imagine going into a meeting or going into some office job with absolutely no sleep for a day or two and still pulling it out of my ass and getting the job done. But when it comes to parkour, it's incredibly dangerous to do that, and my job is to keep myself as safe as possible. So I need to be able to put myself in a situation where I'm very focused and very aware of what's going on. And as somebody who had problems falling asleep, that posed quite the challenge where I arrived somewhere and I'm like, fuck, I'm wide awake. I have to be on set in 6, 8, 10 hours and I can't fall asleep. So very quickly I had to figure out how to figure out my sleep. And the solution for me is podcasts and audiobooks. I'm going to give you 3 of my favorites, but first I want to let you know why those work for me. The reason is, I have an extremely busy mind. Honestly, the reason I can't fall asleep is usually that my brain just won't stop thinking about shit. It will go like, I have to do this, or I have this idea, or I didn't respond to that email. It will just keep on going and going. And I tried putting a notepad next to my bed so I can just write shit down that I have to do so I can forget about it. That wouldn't work. And I quickly thought about, hey, why don't I just listen to something to keep my mind busy? And I started with the podcasts that I would usually listen to, like the Tim Ferriss, maybe some Gary Vee. These are all non-fiction kind of business podcasts. And those kind of just made it worse because then I would get even more ideas and my mind would get excited and be like, I have to do this, I have to try that, what if I do that? Oh, that's such a good idea. So instead of falling asleep, I would just get more excited. However, what unlocked it for me were non-fiction podcasts. Now, I'm gonna share 3 of my favorites with you that I love. Number 1 is the Lord of the Rings audiobook. It's basically a story of some short people trying to climb a mountain, and it's quite inspiring, quite enjoyable. The audiobook is actually really good of Lord of the Rings. I listened to it when I was younger, and it's awesome to relive it now, and it's really fun for me to fall asleep to, especially because I know the story. It can be kind of nice that I'm not too worried about falling asleep and then forgetting where I was in the story. I just start playing anywhere and I can enjoy it. The second audiobook I would love for you to check out are all of the Ken Follett books. Now, Ken Follett is one of the authors that really got me into reading when I was younger. My dad gave me one of his books and I was just hooked. It was The Pillars of the Earth. And he has his whole collection of epic stories. And most of these stories, or maybe all of them, are grounded in real life historical events. And he does a ton of research to make sure as much of his book is accurate, and that is really a fun way to dive into history and relive it through these characters and learn about it as well. So I would recommend all of the Ken Follett books. Lately I've been reading all his World War I and II stories. I've been listening to them, and I'm also going to link to them below in the description. Now, number 3, why am I doing this? Oh wait. Number 3 is the current podcast I'm listening to and I'm loving it. It's Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. Now, Dan Carlin is a history journalist, the way I understand it, and he picks these historic topics, World War I, World War II, Caesar, Genghis Khan, and he researches the shit out of them, and then he makes these absolutely epic podcasts telling this historical story in an extremely entertaining way. Now, he puts so much research into these that he releases, I think, like 2 or 3 podcasts a year. Like, these take some serious time and research, and it shows. They're incredible kind of ways to look at history and to really learn about these complex stories in an entertaining way. I've been really enjoying them. And my girlfriend Emily has been making fun of me because it's quite strange, because all these stories, they're basically talking about some of the worst atrocities, the worst genocides and things that have happened ever in human history. And it's really not the thing you imagine yourself listening to fall asleep to. But for some reason, it's really working for me. I'm really enjoying it because it's an epic story that my mind can dive into. It distracts me from everyday life. But also, I feel like I am still learning something. Like, my weird, strange brain can feel bad for just wasting time on entertainment if there's not some kind of weird learning factor with it. So with these hardcore history podcasts, I feel like I get a perfect marriage of both. And yes, I will be laying down listening to all the terrible murders and battlefields and things that have happened around the world, but it's just interesting and it gets my brain busy and I can just fall asleep. Sounds crazy. I'm happy. It's probably good that I pretty much never remember my dreams because they're probably pretty grim. But I don't know, maybe not. You can buy the Lord of the Rings audiobook, you can buy the Ken Follett audiobooks on the usual audiobook sites. Just look it up. I'm going to try to link some in the description. A big part of Dan Carlin's podcasts are actually available for free, so I really recommend you check them out to fall asleep to, or just like that. It's definitely worth it. And I hope you enjoy. Let me know about your sleeping skills. What helps you, what doesn't help. I've tried a lot. I've tried meditation, doesn't work. I've tried counting sheep. Yeah, but this kind of unlocked it for me. Now it's really nice. I know if I arrive somewhere and I want to fall asleep, I can just put on the podcast and 10 to 30, maybe 40 minutes, I'll be out for sure. And that's really nice to have that. It feels like a life skill. Like, I can just fall asleep. And that's pretty awesome. Works on planes, works on trains. And if you have any special skills or podcasts or audiobooks that help you pass the fuck out, because I'm about to finish listening to all the Dan Carlin podcasts and then I'll either start from the beginning or I need something new. So help me out here. See ya tomorrow.